weeks, Choctaw's trash has been piling up because the city wasn't picking it up. But now it looks like the garbage is all gone. Well, almost. At least an effort is being made to clean up the problem. The welcome sight of trash trucks could be seen all day on the streets. This one broke down after only one load, which backs the city manager's gripe of maintenance problems. But one city councilman wonders why the truck wasn't worked on sooner.
My feelings is that if we can clean it up today, we could have cleaned it up last week.
Yes, we're trying to get back on schedule, and some of those areas that wasn't picked up today are due to be on the schedule tomorrow. We were able to lease a truck from Hara, and they have turned out a lot of good work and have emptied most of our dumpsters already.
Despite the fact that trucks are making rounds, one Choctaw resident says she's gone through this before, and she doubts the problem's over.
Well, if they don't come, I'm going to see if I can't find me some way of getting a burning permit and burn it myself, because I've got to get rid of it.
Several Choctaw residents are still stacking their trash. Like Shirley Booth, they hope relief comes soon before they run out of room. Sherry Sellers, Action 4 in Choctaw. Senator Moore spent the evening surrounded by friends. They all came to show their support for the candidate, but they also came to listen to two very special guests, the first of which was Oklahoma's adopted son, Eddie Chiles. As expected, he proved an entertaining speaker.
I love America. America's been very good to me. I had the good fortune to be born poor. I've been poor, and I've been rich, and rich is better.
The second guest was just as colorful, but in a different way. This man provided the audience with an inside look at the Republican White House.
Well, the president doesn't have a magic wand, but let's look for a minute at the things that he has done since he's been in office. Under Ronald Reagan, inflation has gone from about 15% and going up. It is down now to where it is under 3%, and where for the whole year it will probably run somewhere between 3 and 6%.
One message was clear throughout the dinner. These Republicans feel it isn't President Reagan that's failed, it's his Democratic Congress, and they think they can correct that by sending an Oklahoma Republican to Washington, D.C. Sherry Sellers, Action 4. Last summer, the word got out that Oklahoma has one of the lowest unemployment rates in the nation. Ever since, about 80 families a day have been moving into the state. Those families may find that there's lots of jobs, but not lots of places to live. 25% of these people moving into the state are looking for apartments to rent, but there just aren't that many vacancies. Here in Oklahoma City, the rental market is tight and getting tighter. One reason is because our population is growing in leaps and bounds. That means there's more competition out there for those apartments that are available, which is inconvenient for the newcomers as well as the current residents.
The reason we were looking was so there'd be something less expensive, and we're stuck here because we can't find anything else, and now I found out they're going to raise the rent again, and it really makes you feel awful because you can't even afford to buy groceries. You can't afford to go out, you can't afford to buy clothes, or you can't afford to do anything just to pay the rent.
One local real estate broker says it's common for rent to go up when demand goes up.
If you had a car for sale and very few people looked at the car, of course you would sell it for less. If you had a car for sale and a lot of people are interested in buying that car, of course you would raise your rate. There's more demand, there's more people looking for places, and when there's more demand, the prices go up.
It appears construction isn't going to bring any relief to Oklahoma City's demand for apartments. Contractors aren't building because building costs are just too high right now, as well as interest rates. So the tough rental market will most likely be getting tougher. Sherry Sellers, Action 4.
L.T. Brown was warden at the Connors Correctional Center at Hominy for 2 years. He resigned last month when a Corrections Department investigation turned up serious allegations of wrongdoing at the prison. Corrections Director Larry Meacham accepted the resignation. The next day, Brown decided he wanted his job back. Meacham said, no chance. The Board of Corrections heard from witnesses who charged the warden used his position to get special deals on an oven and soft drinks. They also charged Brown used an inmate to work on his personal car and move furniture into his house. Warden Brown's backers call the charges trivial, but the board supported Meacham's decision.
The reports of investigation and testimony of various individuals cast doubt as to the overall suitability of Mr. Brown to serve further as a warden in the Oklahoma Department of Corrections.
I was libeled and slandered through the investigation. The board, I suppose, had to act on what they felt was true information.
The board says its decision is final, but Brown says this is one fight he's not about to walk away from. Mark O'Neill, Action 4, State Corrections Department.
He walked up to this motor bank, pulled a gun, and made the teller hand over a large amount of money. The man then took off running east on 26th Street. 2 off-duty policemen were working at the bank as security guards and were called immediately.
They took up foot pursuit, and they pursued the suspect east on 26th Street and down through the houses in the area east of Robertson and apprehended the suspect.
When he was captured, the officers found money on him, supposedly the total amount. Once caught, the suspect told police he had thrown his gun while running to his getaway vehicle, which in this case was a motorcycle. Officers searched the area for 45 minutes but couldn't find anything. At first, they thought they just couldn't see it in the tall grasses. But after a thorough combing, they believed it just wasn't there.
There's nothing there, though. We took it apart. It's not there. He just threw it.
They started looking across the alley, and minutes later, the weapon was found. A .357, and with it lay several stacks of cash. The crime lab arrived on the scene to photograph the evidence. The gun will be taken to ballistics, where they'll trace it. The money will be counted, recounted, and then counted again before being placed in the property room, where it'll be held until trial. The robber has been identified as 29-year-old Roger Dale Hickman. Police took him to the jail, where he'll be booked for armed robbery. The amount of money stolen is being described by the bank as simply a large sum. Sherry Sellers, Action 4 in South Oklahoma City.
The tribal dancing is only a small part of the festivities. The whole gamut of Indian culture from tribes all over the nation can be witnessed at the Expo Center in Shawnee this weekend. The Pottawatomie Intertribal Powwow Club holds this event each year with special emphasis on teaching Indian dances to those members who know little about the culture but are willing to learn. But the powwow isn't limited to the red man. This is Father Vincent Traynor with the Order of St. Benedict's. Father Traynor's first contact with the Pottawatomies came in 1958. Since then, the culture has been an integral part of this man's life.
Besides being an honorary member of the Pottawatomie tribe, I'm also a member of the Pottawatomie Intertribal Powwow Club. And through that club, I've joined in dancing and tried to help them learn how to dance, many of whom didn't know it all. Just try to further their culture for them and for others.
The tribal dances signify unity and friendship among the common people from a common land, a bond that is obviously deeper than the skin color that most of them share. And as long as there's someone to beat the drum, the Pottawatomie Intertribal Powwows will continue. Kurt Autry, Action 4, Shawnee.
on Father's Day, the fathers have to have something. And the fathers have to pick where they want to go and eat.
I think it's wonderfully color coordinated.
No, I got
Easy
it.
knot. Probably one of the nicer Father Day ties made today.
You gonna be wearing that to work tomorrow?
How could a guy resist?
Said the other engineer.
An awful lot of unhappy people along that deep park there that keep saying, you keep putting more.
Into our neighborhood, tore the houses down, and left them in a...
To compare this council with state legislature and say that we are taxing, it is not within our power to tax anybody. And whatever kind of service that is given to a populace of people, whether that be by private industry or a governmental agency, if indeed that service does not receive the necessary revenue, not a profit now, just the necessary revenue to break even, I'd say it's bad business. And I would imagine if indeed we were doing things otherwise, there would be those who would say that we were not acting in good faith with the people of Oklahoma City.
March 30th, 1981. The country is horrified when John Hinckley shoots President Reagan, his press secretary Jim Brady, and 2 other people. Hinckley is immediately taken into custody. During the next few months, his attorneys prepare his case based on the argument that what happened on March 30th was due to Hinckley's mental state. The question is, did Hinckley lack the capacity to appreciate the wrongfulness of this action? Or even if he could appreciate it, could he conform his conduct to meet legal requirements? The jury says no, and John Hinckley is found not guilty by reason of insanity. The decision has angered a lot of people, but not OCU Law professor Arlo Francois.
I think the jurors followed the instructions, and I think it was probably an appropriate verdict. I think it is much too premature to say that John Hinckley will be out on the streets next week, next year, in 2 years, or in 5 years. We simply don't know. And I would say as a moral matter, it would make sense to release John Hinckley if indeed he was insane at the time he committed his act and if he gets treatment.
So the chain of events that started March 30th, 1981 has now triggered a national debate about the insanity defense. And it may be that the law that helped a potential presidential assassin will be changed. Bill Ross, Action 4.
Well, what it's trying to do
And what it is in fact doing is taking away the kind of progress that we've made, say, since the 40s. And when you cut, say, tuition, basic educational opportunity grants, you're saying to the middle class and to the lower, now with $10,000 a year tuition, that the government's not going to help you. We got enough educated people.
Aquaticus has the ability even to make little children sing.
Help us bring the dolphins to the Oklahoma City Zoo to see such fun and learn so much. Let's do what we can do.
These first graders from Harvest Hills did their part by raising $200 toward making Aquaticus happen. The kids are joining in a $4.5 million project that will make the Oklahoma City Zoo the envy of other zoos around the country. Aquaticus would be an eye-catching addition to the zoo, featuring dolphins as a star attraction.
These are the most intelligent animals known next to man, and there are ways in which we can demonstrate that. They have a language of their own.
The dolphins would probably say thanks for a $1 million grant that comes with a challenge.
That $1 million needs to be matched. We have to have $1 million new to go with it. And when we do that, we're there and we can start construction to have this fabulous exhibit at the zoo.
A home for this dolphin. Like you said, he looks like he's smiling all the time.
Telethons like this one have helped in raising money toward building Aquaticus. Pledges have been coming in every day, but more money is still needed. Exactly $1.5 million will do the job. There was a small bet between Smith and Curtis that funding would not be this far along. Smith said it would, and the loser was to pay the bet in a way he would long remember. The Zoological Society is still encouraging everyone to jump in and help make Aquaticus a success. Ed Stewart, Action 4 at the Oklahoma City Zoo.
It got so loud inside you could hardly hear yourself in there. And we just got a downpour. And then it sounded like a distinct snap of like a 4x4 breaking. And then it just sounded like a huge oak tree shattering as it would come down. And when I hear something break, I don't stay around to see what it is that's breaking. I want to get out away from where it's at. And by the time I got to the front door here, the section had collapsed back there, and we had about 18 to 24 inches of a direct stream of water coming down in one place.
It has been a 10-year battle for the Equal Rights Amendment across the country and in Oklahoma. The National Organization for Women conceded yesterday that the battle was lost, but they said the war for equality was far from over. Many people say the battle against the ERA began here in Oklahoma, when a small group of women convinced the State House not to follow the Senate's lead by ratifying the amendment. The woman who headed that group is Ann Patterson. She says the ERA isn't needed.
The Equal Pay Act that goes way, way back, the Civil Rights Act that includes women and affirmative action and all this, the laws are in place. Now, I don't sit here and tell you that they're not disobeyed. I believe in enforcement, and we've worked on that.
The ERA countdown campaigners disagree. They say there are loopholes in the laws, and now they will change their strategy and start the battle again.
The top priority for the National Organization for Women is going to be getting women first to run for office and get elected to office so that they are on the inside where those decisions are made.
The ERA offices in Oklahoma will remain open, at least until the elections. After the elections, they'll evaluate what they've accomplished and decide on the rest of their future. Charles Schnetzer, Action 4. Accomplished and decide on the rest of their future. Charles Schnetzer, Action 4.
All right, I would appreciate it. Just anyone that answers the phone will be able to take that message. Thank you. Have you tried to communicate with Georgia's president? She's just fine.
We're right now just intensifying the investigation into certain characters as such that might live in the area around the park and things like this that, you know, we'll have to start getting into people with past criminal records and what have you. Not that we're saying that we believe right now that anything, that there's been any foul play or anything that's happened to Doug, but this will be the 5th night that he has been missing, and for a 10-year-old, that's quite a while to be out on the street or to be staying with somebody with the type of coverage that we've had on this situation.
When Oklahoma County Sheriff's deputies arrived at this trailer park south of Hera, they found 5-year-old Kimberly Bayless lying in a pool of blood. She had been shot in the face. Nearby, a small pony lay dead. The first officers on the scene were met by a hail of bullets from inside a trailer. Lawmen rescued the bleeding child and sealed off the area. Hostage negotiators then tried to coax 25-year-old Judy Mayo out of the trailer.
Let's start talking, communicating a little bit, then we'll work things out. We'll start from this point on, and one day at a time. We'll go from there. Okay?
Mayo turned a deaf ear to the officers' pleas, so the Sheriff's Department tactical team moved in to end the standoff. Shortly after 2 p.m., lawmen stopped talking. They lobbed several tear gas canisters inside the mobile home. A few minutes later, they subdued their suspect without incident.
The operation went very smooth. Tactical team was advised and was activated, and they did a super job. Nobody was injured after they got here and took charge of the situation.
The victim, 5-year-old Kimberly Bayless, is reported in stable condition at Children's Hospital. She's expected to fully recover from her wounds. Judy Mayo was taken to Midwest City Hospital for treatment of tear gas poisoning. Authorities are expected to make a decision soon on whether to file criminal charges against her. 3 lawmen also were treated for tear gas inhalation. They've been identified as Hera Officer Hugh Gilbert and Sheriff's Deputies Larry Jarosky and Leslie Haley. All 3 men were treated and released. Authorities say they have no motive for the shooting spree. Scott Wallace, Action 4 near Hera.
That would be the hearing examiner. I think once he's been appointed.
The Equalization Board is comprised of the biggest leaders in state government. Treasurer Leo Winters, School Superintendent Dr. Leslie Fisher, Attorney General Jan Eric Cartwright, State Auditor and Inspector Tom Daxon, and Governor Nye. The board met to approve tax ratios for Oklahoma's 77 counties. The taxes are divided into 3 categories: residential, commercial, and agricultural. The state Supreme Court wants all counties taxed at 12%. Numerous county tax assessors came to the meeting and complained. They said they didn't have enough time to make the change to 12% and still meet their statutory deadlines. Some counties, like Cherokee, will face a 99% jump in commercial taxes if the ratios are approved, while others, like Tulsa, face a 46% decrease in their agricultural taxes. It gets very complicated, and even though the biggest leaders in state government were there, nothing was decided. The governor thought it might be a good idea to have lawmakers take a look at the taxation formulas when they returned from their recess. So, no action was taken, and the next meeting of the Equalization Board is set for July 12th. Bella Shaw, Action 4 at the state capitol.
The Supreme Court ruling says that federally chartered savings and loan institutions can force homeowners to pay off their existing low-interest mortgages when they sell their homes. That decision is seen as a victory for the ailing savings and loan industry, but it comes as a blow to prospective homebuyers who were hoping to assume existing mortgages. For years, the state's housing industry has benefited from the so-called ladder effect. People who own older homes sell their houses to eager buyers. The buyer assumes the existing low-interest loan. The seller uses the cash to move up to a new home. But the High Court's ruling knocks several rungs out of that ladder. The decision upholds a federal regulation which allows federal savings and loans to require full payment of an existing mortgage when a house is sold.
I'm very disturbed from a standpoint that we will not have the ladder effect of somebody having an assumable loan out here, somebody buying and somebody moving on up in the housing industry and improving themselves, which they try to do. This, we might see some slowdown.
While consumers suffer, the state's 39 federally chartered savings and loans should benefit from the Supreme Court ruling. The decision means the financially troubled institutions will be able to write more loans at the current high interest rates. Scott Wallace, Action 4.
They're upstairs, we know, we personally know. Okay, now you vote for 1 off this column here, yes, and 2 down here. Okay. And then you can go sit at that table over there. Here. Now, Sylvia, you can do that.
We need them to express our opinions, and also that way they can work through other senators and let them know what we need. And I'm very happy about it, and I'll vote another time. I hope we have it always.